Take 3 nice deep breaths, please. And let's just take a few moments to be present with the space. This is a really important activation that is desiring to come forth, and I'm going to take a few moments to be present to receive the activation, the wisdom and the insight for the activation. But I've been guided to come forth with another sort of urgent activation, sacred space-time, to really start to awaken this new economic energy body, that template that is within you, so that you can ultimately begin to bring your new economy from within into your external world. And that's very important during this time, as there are a lot of economic templates and success templates that are continuing to be offered that are still very much old paradigm and not aligned and congruent with the new emergence of humanity's evolution. And we are still indeed catching up to that evolutionary edge and impulse. Take a deep breath, please. So it's important for you to be able to identify your own unique economic individuality and your financial individuality, and bring forth that template from your new anatomy, the ascended anatomy, and being able to leverage the energy body for your higher advantage, because that is where your new economy is generated from. Take a deep breath, please. So we're going to be present with your new anatomy, with your new energy body, and go into the dimensions of the economic realms. And you'll be able to access there your own information, what is true for you. And then we'll bring that into the activation time to anchor. Take a deep breath, please. So at this moment, I'm going to ask that you would make sure that you have some note-taking materials. Also, get some beverage of some sort. I feel that there's a possibility that we could go deep into the dimensions, and normally when that occurs, you certainly need the proper hydration. And even if you're not hydrated on the onset, being able to have some water or beverages, during this time is going to be extremely beneficial to you. I would definitely say required, for sure. Take a deep breath, please. And also, if you want to grab some snacks, could be helpful as well. It's very possible that we could get into a mini retreat style, which I have done activations of this nature, where the insight comes at that moment. As most of you know, who've listened to several activations, none of these activations are anything that are prepared or pre-planned. It is, I will get a prompt to come forth, and sometimes there is maybe a core theme, but I never know exactly what's going to be shared, what's going to come through. And that's why I take the time to get present so that I can be in the receptive mode to facilitate it accordingly. And so, as I mentioned, that this is a very important activation and a very important time of being able to truly bring forth what's true for you as it relates to creating your new economy lifestyle, so that you aren't caught up in any of the systematic approaches, again, that I mentioned that are really outdated, really going out and just not aligning congruent with who you are as a new creation. The whole purpose, or one of the overall arching purposes of bringing forth your new anatomy and awakening and activating more of the new energy body, is because you are prepared for the new world and not the world that is fading away. Take a deep breath, please. So as we're present with this newer template of your anatomy that wants to come forth in the economics energy body, and so I'm being guided just to share a little bit about that, in terms of, even though it's unique to each individual, but there are just some commonalities within the system or the structure, if you will. And though there's your unique template with your information, but some of the core fundamentals around this is about being able to bring forth the evolution of not just your truth, but the evolutionary encoding that is contained within the new humanity template, and what that entails in terms of the way we live our lives, and what that economy consists of, which is a holistic premise. The economy of you, the economy of your essence, the economy of your expression. It is the economy of source. It is your source template at this higher level, which in turn will bring forth the economic structures that are going to be most aligned for you. Take a deep breath, please. And so in that awareness, let's expand that. Expand the evolution, expand the context of your economic expression. It is the epitome of a source economy, according to Source's definition and perspective about why you were uniquely designed and created for this life experience, and what that would entail for you to bring forth, not just to enhance and enrich who you are, but what it means for the overall collective as we all connect. Take a deep breath, please. And so before we start diving into the dimensions, and just me using that word lets me know that this is about immersion. And so this may feel like an intensive, and it's probably why the guidance to have you to get note-taking material so that you can fully participate in this at a higher level and be more engaged than just listening to the guidance that comes through for the activation and being able to take that in. You will be doing both, taking it in, but also participating in this, being the potter also on the wheel, helping to mold and shape the clay. So this is a co-creative opportunity here, which every experience typically is, but sometimes we feel we need to process things first. We need to hear it and then come back. But this is this type of experience, from what I'm getting, is one you need to be present with during this time and actually engaging it during this time. Take a nice deep breath, please. So during our time together, as we are bringing forth the template of this new economics energy body and being present with that etheric temple and your etheric body, and how your astral body and the mental body, the casual body, how all of these have a culmination and a cultivation for this higher extraction that then brings it out into the physical body manifestation. Take a deep breath, please. And so let's actually be present with what's coming to me right now is your new economic ethereal temple or etheric temple. So let's be present with that. And so as we're being present, some of you may get an initial feeling around just hearing about that, just being in the place, in the space of this. And I want you to write down that feeling. And if there is none, write that down as well. Says, I believe what's happening during this time is that it's activating or gauging your sensitivity, and those who are empathic would certainly be able to feel on deeper levels, maybe even dimensionally, what this truly means in a grander context. Take a deep breath, please. And those who are just now awakening to higher sensitivity just may feel something subtle, or again, maybe nothing, but just be present with that new economic etheric temple, because that's going to bring forth new wisdom and energy and heightenedness to your etheric body. And what that will do is then send a message, almost like your central nervous system communicates through your nerves to the nervous system as a whole and other parts of your anatomy. The etheric temple is serving sort of as that cornerstone. That's the fountain, it's the cornerstone. That's what I'm getting in this process. It is serving as that central hub. And that's why we're starting here, to set the tone as this new economic shift is taking place within you. Take a deep breath, please. So we're going to move past the feeling, and just at this moment, the guidance is to ask you to step outside of any and everything that you have known as it relates to economics. So let's just be present here in this sort of blank slate, blank space process of divine neutrality, where you are outside of what you have known and you're just in this space of the unknown. But as we do know, it's not really unknown. It really is the space and place of your new economic energy body. Take a deep breath, please. And so just be present with this experience. And I want you to write down whatever comes up for you, that you are just outside of the norm, and what new awarenesses are flooding into you now. And if There aren't any, that's fine. Just write that down as well. That means there's more it's emerging through you. And this is about what's emerging. You're actually here listening to this because that emergence of that new economy within you is coming through, and it is requiring that your energy body bring forth this activation so that the awareness, the revelation around this produces that inner transformation and then can lead to the external manifestations. Take a deep breath, please. So the guidance now is to be present with your new economic essence. And what does that look and feel like? What does that entail? And surely it could have some components or elements of what your previous economic energy has been, but typically more of a major shift happens where this new template typically brings forth something that is not familiar, but initially you could have some familiarity around a few contexts and it would just sort of up level or upgrade that awareness, but really only so that you can surrender that to come into the grander space. So it's possible that it could just be leveraged, kind of it's just a springboard, a little launching pad, but not to stay there. Just maybe a lift off in terms of you have some awareness about economics and the economy and elements of where you've been successful or so, but you are being asked to even surrender that so that this new information and the new template can come forth uncontaminated with anything of the old. Take a deep breath, please. So as you're being present with your new economic essence, what else do you get a sense of around that? Do you feel any energy? Are there any colors that are coming up for you? Any sounds? And whatever is coming up for you, write that down. And again, of course, if nothing's coming up, then write that down as well. Take a deep breath, please. So now I'm being invited to ask you to relax. So I want you to put down your pens and your pencils and just be present right here for the moment. This is the part of this, if you want to call it mini retreat intensive, this is the part where you are to relax into this space and to allow this process to ensue and bring forth the experience for you that is going to be for your highest and best good in awakening and activating this new energy body of economics template. It's going to be most aligned for you, and how this happens is normally a very gentle process of the activations, but some of you definitely can feel the electrifying effects of just this new economy that's emerging from within, while some of you is just going to be almost like just a light, not necessarily gentle surgery, but you could just feel like you're put under just for a little bit so that you can allow this to take place. So the color therapy template is coming through, and we're going to work in the chakra chambers, just in one of the more subtle dimensions. And what's coming up is actually that it's going to be facilitated in sets. So your lower chakra, the first three are going to be dimensionalized, and we will go into just really an entry level of the new dimensions there, and then we'll move into what I call your core, and the core is going up from the heart and the throat and making its way into the third eye, and then your upper chakras, which actually begin to extend outside of the body as well, the crown, and then the eighth and the ninth. And so we're going to be present with those. And again, what's coming up right now, at least for the first set, the lower chakras, is that the color therapy energy is coming up. So take a deep breath, please. Now I want you to be present with the color ruby, burnt orange, and gold. And these are the colors that are representing the lower chakra collective during this time. The ruby representing your root chakra, the burnt orange representing your sacral chakra, and the gold representing your solar plexus. Take a deep breath, please. So this is about your new economic foundation. And within being present with this collective dimension, this is where you begin to have some entry-level extraction of wisdom and insight in terms of the new foundation for your new economic world. And this is what will be awakening through this new energy body aspect from the economical standpoint. So just be present with the collective embodiment of these three chakras. And what could potentially happen during this time for some of you is that one color may stand out more, and you want to give your attention to that. If more than one color is standing out more, be present with those colors. But this is the time to be in this new dimension. This is the entry level into the economic chambers of your new energy anatomy, coming forth to reveal to you what the foundation premise are for starting to build upon this. Will offer you new fundamentals and insights, asking you to suspend the knowledge that you have around the chakras and, once again, just the economy in general, so that you can clearly hear what is for you. So be present. And take 3 deep breaths, please. So right now, you're just allowing the wisdom and the insight to come up. There's no writing this down. There will be an opportunity to go back and revisit the wisdom and the experience, but this is you receiving right now, receiving the wisdom and the insight, and also the awakening. And as it's awakening, this higher knowledge of this new template that's coming forth, it is also for those of you on your surface level and first dimensions and foundations of the traditional chakras. You will be actually experiencing kind of a takeover and a makeover even of that dimension. So we'll definitely be healing and clearing out old debris, old economic resistance, and even old success patterns that were successful for you, because it's clearing this out because there's the new economy that's emerging and the foundation has to be laid correctly. And so during this time, some of you may be feeling some movement within your chakras, and what is happening and occurring, not from a disruptive type of experience, but kind of feeling a pushing and a pressing through of the new context of this dimension coming into just your traditional foundational premise of knowledge of the chakras, or no knowledge of the chakras, just that first dimension. But this dimension is coming through to do the makeover. And it's just at a very entry level experience because it's just awakening. We haven't fully activated anything or anchored and ground this yet. So just allow this to take place. And though I'm telling you what could potentially be happening, don't try to wrap your mind around this. Just allow it. Just giving context in case you do start to feel something. But also what's happening even for those who have had very healthy chakras on the general surface premise of that traditional dimension, is you certainly will be feeling more vibrancy come in, and probably even getting some woo ahas and just a feeling of not necessarily relief, but a feeling of whoa, like I've been waiting on this. I didn't know that this was a thing. I didn't know this level of chakra feeling or sensitivity even existed. So just be with that. And so those colors, and from this new dimension, a new color format, is coming in, and it's really sort of recolor coding your experience. Take a deep breath, please. Okay, so now there's the guidance actually to move forward into the core. And so some of you may start seeing and sensing maybe some mint green, and then maybe some lime green, representing the heart chakra. And then we have the aqua coming in, and it's a higher, lighter context of the teal blue. It's presenting itself. And then there's the deep blue of the indigo that is coming in, but also some sky blue actually may swirl in with that as well. So those are just the colors of awareness coming up now. And what's interesting is that within this context, there's kind of a starlight quality kind of shining through each of these colors. And that might certainly be the third eye, the brow chakra. That's providing maybe that that context. So let's just be present with that core. Take 3 nice deep breaths, please. And just allow those colors to just feed you, nourish you, be the provisionary context in which you need to draw from during this time. So this is where even your higher source chambers for your new economy come forth, because there's higher wisdom and levels of the communication factor that come through the heart and the throat, and the brow with the third eye brings illumination to that communication and context. And then even gives you intuitive insight, intuitive intelligence at a higher level for the clarity of how to move forward. So some of you will probably be receiving some visions during this time. Take a deep breath, please. But just allow it. Again, don't try to wrap your mind around any of this, just allow it. Because you are setting this holistic premise for your new economy to come forth, and allowing the awakening within the new context of your energy body to provide this experience for you, so that the activation that will fully be anchored can be sustainable and give you the perfect jump start for being able to express this in the physicality. Take a deep breath, please. Okay, so now there's the guidance to be with the crown chakra for just a moment before moving into the other ascended chakras. So we're going to be present. And at this point, there's not so much of the color context that's coming up to focus on, even though some of you may be seeing the violet or some of the pink or the white within the violet flame aspect that could come up. But the economic format that's being called forth during this time is supreme, is what's coming up. And this is really about your sovereignty, being supreme in your economic authority. So be present with that and allow whatever wisdom comes up, or even if some colors do come through, allow that to facilitate for you whatever it is that needs to take place. But this is certainly the sovereign source, supreme energy. Take a deep breath, please. So we're just going to be with this space for a moment. There's something here that needs to be more fleshed out. And even if it is just being present with it and allowing it to do a deeper work, because this is where the immersion, okay, here we go. This is where the immersion is really beginning. So we're actually going to dive deeper into a few chambers of the crown chakra. So there's actually some insight and wisdom even coming from your etheric temple that is companionizing, if you will, if that's a word, with the crown chakra. So there's kind of a dual process that's coming here. Take a deep breath. Okay, so this is actually where you are going to be coming back in to participate. And this is where we're going to need some hydration to come in. So I want you to take some sips of water, or how much water that you're feeling guided to actually drink during this time. And I want you to write down, actually, as you drink the water after, what your body feels like, or what do you got a sense of from the hydration at this point. Take a deep breath, please. And at this moment, before we move forward into the different dimensions in terms of the crown chakra, now I want you to have sort of a review, if you will, of the process of being with the foundations, the foundational chakra dimensions, and the core chakra dimensions, and sort of summarizing an experience from each of those. So you write down what you experienced with the foundation dimensions, what came up for you, what colors were most, I guess, prevalent or more illuminate to you, and just some highlights from that experience. Don't try to overthink it, just whatever comes up. Just give a few more moments. Just do shorthand. Take a deep breath, please. And now let's move to the core and sort of just give a generalization, some initial things that came up: insight, wisdom, context of the colors, and just anything that stood out for you. Just write that down. Because what I'm getting is that all of what has been done so far is more like a passport into the newer dimensions, or it's more like your preparation of diving gear, if you will, to immerse. Take 3 deep breaths, please. Okay, and we'll allow just a few more moments, and then we're going to move forward. So just kind of scan the experience, have a quick reflection, and just jot down quickly. Okay. So all of this being done even at just the entry-level chamber of the crown chakra, of having that review and kind of access granted, if you will, permission to move forward, to dive deeper, and you are prepared for this deep dive. So just a reminder that within this entry level of even the economic experience in terms of the crown and being supreme and being present with the sovereignty of source that gives you this supreme authority over your finances, over creating your world anew through the awakening of this inner economy and the new anatomy of your energy body at this level. This is the type of wisdom that you are working with, the type of experience, and that's why it requires the preparation and the hydration so that this immersion can accurately ensue and you can gain the maximum benefit from this experience initially, but also be able to sustain within these dimensions as the immersion takes place. Take a nice deep breath, please. So let's dive, let's immerse, and be present within the supreme economy of you, of the source of you. So be present with that. And write down in a simplistic format or shorthand what comes up for you. Whether it's a feeling, it could be a word. Some of you may just continue to hear supreme or source. It could just be one word or one phrase, but just write that down. And if nothing's coming up, which would typically not happen at this phase, but just in case if nothing's coming up, then write that down as well. Take a deep breath, please. And so now we're going to move into a newer dimension of expanded awareness with the new economy vibration around that came up for you. And again, if nothing came up, then it will be the expansion of the space and allow the silence to become loud. And just be present with that. So take 3 nice deep breaths, please. And be present with this dimension. And allow it to provide for you exactly what's unique for you in source communication format about your supreme authority and higher economic shift that's bringing forth your new economy from within, your new economics energy body template at this higher source level. Take a deep breath, please. And now we're actually going to immerse deeper, and so sound therapy is coming through at this time. So I need you to be present with my voice. invite you to lean forward. And as you're leaning, feel that you are bringing forth with you all of what has been provided so far in this experience, all that you have gathered and grounded to a certain extent. This leaning represents you diving deeper, immersing deeper, and bringing forth that higher supreme source vibration, which is actually calibrating you for the continuation of this experience. Be present with the rhythm. Be present with the cadence of my voice. Be present with the source communication coming through as it's taking you deeper into the dimensions of the soul of who you are with this higher source connection, with your sovereignty, your royal birthright at this level, crowned with a courageous commitment to the continuation of your evolution and the context and content of why you are here during this time in humanity's evolution and the evolution of economic shifting globally, but starting with the globe within, that is your world, your economy, that comes through. Awakening. What's awakening more? As we immerse deeper, even going into a newer dimension, now is the time where multiple colors may come into your awareness. You may feel frequencies. You may feel yourself start to sway. Some of you may feel yourself grasping onto your chair or whatever it is that is around you. Just know that this is safe as you are diving deeper. Let this immersion process speak to you and reveal to you, and that could come in a block of thought. The revelation could come through just a feeling, through sounds, through the pulsating of this experience, filling into the source supply at this higher level, where all your needs are met in ways far beyond your imagination. This is the sovereign, supreme place of the true source potential, which is your thriving economy template. Take a deep breath, please, even as immersing. Stay with me here. Be present. You're now in the dimension of new discovery for your higher economic structures. And just feel into that, even if no information or wisdom is coming. This is the place of security and assurity. This is the place of higher creation. You've earned this to be here, to create your economy from the inside out through divine desire. Your desires and source desires, or God's desires, are one, and you are creating through source desire. It's one and the same. What you desire is what source desires. What source desires is what you desire. Take a deep breath, even as immersing, please. Now let's be present in this discovery. Let's expand what's coming up for you now. And some of you may be getting a flood of insights and wisdom coming through, and just Jot down what's coming to surface in more of an illuminate context. Don't worry about all the other things that are going on. Don't try to write down all of it. It's all being uniquely containerized for the activation. But your awareness needs to be on that which is standing out to you the most, whether in sound, color, texture, words, whatever is illuminating during this time. And if some of you during this time are really getting this feeling in your gut, it means that your third eye is inviting you to bring it up as a companion energy during this time to bring more illumination to the context of what is going on, bringing more intuitive intelligence and insight to support you when we begin to ascend into the 8th and 9th chakras, which we'll be going into soon after we immerse into another dimension. So just be with this higher economic space. Experience support like never before. Be present with gearing up for your mind to be blown in ways that you didn't know were possible. Infinite possibilities and beyond. And with that, we are immersing now into the higher economics context of your profitable portal of possibilities and potential. And this is where most of you will discover what your higher purpose is around profitability and what this means in the emerging economy in the physical world that's coming through you now, and what your higher role and context will be as you are a great steward of that which you are allowing to flow through you from this higher supreme source supply and higher source connection through your birthright and royalty. It's that higher crown energy, the crown chakra. It's revealing to you even more why you're here, why this is your purpose, why this is your destiny. At this phase, take a deep breath, even as you immerse. And so now let's just be in this space of this portal, this higher profitability and potential possibility and purpose. Just be with it all. Be with it all. And I want you to feel more into this, even before trying to write down and take a lot of notes around this. Just feel into this. Be present. Be the embodiment of all that has come forth. And feel your anatomy shift in that knowing. And so now feel free, if you haven't already, to be writing down highlights from this experience here. And I'm going to invite you to do deep breathing on your own as you are writing. And before we get ready to ascend, because we have immersed with great depth in the crown energy in those different dimensions, This is a good time to drink more water, a good time to actually be snacking. Going to put just a little bit of space before we ascend into the 8th and 9th. Some of you are probably getting extra hungry around this time. So if you actually need to go and get more snacks, if what you have with you is not sustainable at this point, please do stop at this moment and make sure that you can grab something that you can at least have with you as we get ready to ascend. And for those of you who are still present, just continue to do deep breathing and continue to write down what's coming to you. And even if you are doing, once again, an overall reflection and review of all that has taken place so far, and maybe bringing more context to what you have written already, then continue to do that while others are getting more snacks or hydration. And again, just continue to do deep breathing. So before we ascend, I just want to provide a little bit of context in terms of the 8th and the 9th chakra. I'm not going to get into the general premises of the traditional, I guess, information around those, because in the newer context, they don't really hold the same fundamentals, so to speak. But one of the core fundamentals, I should say, within the traditional and within the more higher ascended awareness is really about the space of higher illumination and luminosity. This is where the luminous cord of the 8th and 9th really bind more in a secure way the higher source connection at this level and dimension. This is where you are really in the mind of source. And the illumination of all that has not only taken place, but the illumination of the power of the present moment and what those chakra chambers will reveal to you about what is present for sure, but also what is emerging for you to move forward. That's more the futuristic insight, if you will. But you'll be able to ground that context better here in the present, in the now, where all the power is taking place. But this experience rolls out in a very multi-dimensional way. And even though you've been in different dimensions of the chakras, which is considered multi-dimensional formats as well, this is different because it's outside of your traditional inner anatomy. So this is the external anatomy of you, where your economic expression becomes even more evolutionized, and then it can be optimized because the physical aspect of you will benefit greatly in the manifestations from the chakras that are actually outside of the body. The awakening of the anatomy is bringing it forth so that it can come through in the external format. So we think about how everything is cultivated within, as you hear profits inside out, or abundance is within you, all of these different things, everything's within you, but it's about bringing it out of you to be expressed and experienced And so the chakras that are outside of the body and more in the ascended anatomy aspect of who you are is what's going to provide that greater context for it to be in that physical experience, but yet sustainable. Take a deep breath, please. And so now we're going to move forward. Hopefully that's been enough time for you to be able to munch on something and get more hydrated as we go into this more ascended context. And I'm being even more present with what the entry-level premise is for this ascension energy and kind of catapulting galactically in a sense, but in a new format way. So you hear that it's not attached to any other frameworks that you may be accustomed to hearing and using that term. It's just neutralize it for a moment and allow it to speak to you in whatever ways, but that's the context that it came up for me just now, but I also felt the need to make the disclaimer. So just being is what's coming up, just being. And a lot of you probably have been receiving wisdom and insight about that a lot lately, about being in your beingness. And it's important here before ascending because this is more about the embodiment and moving up and allowing yourself to be elevated from the expansion that has already taken place. And now with the higher support and context of the etheric temple and the foundational aspects of your lower chakras in the traditional in a sense, but even in these different dimensions, and then the core, and now moving more into the ascension, there's more of a completeness at this phase to be able to move forward because there's been the immersion, there's been the anchoring and the embodiment of all that has been. And so now you're nourished enough inwardly and externally to be able to catapult. And I know some of you, if you actually have not or weren't eating or having something to support you, even as I'm saying this, you might be actually feeling a little bit swayed. So I am going to, even though we're ready, I'm going to give just a little bit longer that you grab something so that you can be in a better state as this is taking place. And for those of you who are ready to move forward, I'm just going to invite you to do more deep breathing at this time, more deep breathing at this time. Okay, so we're going to proceed to move forward. Everyone take about 3 nice deep breaths, please. And we're just going to take a moment just to be in the space here. Now, some of you may be actually feeling yourself like you're moving upward, more of that ascension context. So let's just be present here because there's a higher message that wants to be communicated before you go higher. And so just be with that. The power of being present is what is coming up, as in the other parts of the process where it was about the colors and the sound therapy. More of the silence context and energy will be coming up during this time. And it's more of an inner quietness. And the reason why that's going to be taking place is because there's the higher context of the illumination. And so though you may hear me continuing to speak, but you'll feel and sense yourself be quiet within, at least initially, as the ascending is taking place. The ascending is taking place within your awareness. And what is happening during this time is that there's the grander context of awakening. And we need that to happen before we can start to really fully anchor and bring forth the activation from all that has taken place. You've grounded and embodied. And the reason why it was important to make sure that you have the proper hydration and at least enough of a snack or sustainability is because it is in this luminous space of this higher space that you will start, most of you, to feel your anatomy start to shift. And so I want to bring clarification to this now. The reason why this takes place at this level, and some of you who have had other activations or been a part of other activations may say, whoa, I've never experienced it at this level before. Why is this happening, this way? And of course, because we're in the more ascended chakras outside of the traditional 7, even though the crown is part of that ascension energy. But we're talking about bringing forth your supreme source economics template, and we've already ground that part in the crown. But now we are in a more expansive awareness of the luminous aspect of this. And as I mentioned, this is about being in the mind of God, of source at this level, because there are many dimensions of that comprehension and awareness. But within this, you are in a very high space of consciousness. And to have your whole economic template shifted externally because of what's being done, not just internally, but now what's actually being done externally in these outer chakras. This is huge. Take a deep breath, please. So in this luminous space is your higher lucrative space, right? This is where you lack for nothing. You don't lack for anything at any level, but this is the higher awareness in case you think or thought that you have at some point. No more. Because now this opening and expansion of this new economics trajectory is the very energy that flows through you. It is the epitome of the economic shift that needs to happen evolutionary for this planet, starting with you and it happening in your own world. The changes made in your world that then move out into the world at large. It is the ripple effect, and this luminous ripple effect is happening. It's happening right now. It's happening in and through you. So now be with the mind of source as it relates to your economics. Let's be present with that. Your source template, supreme template of your evolution of your economics. This is the economy of you. This is what has been trying to get out of you really throughout every lifetime. But in this lifetime of being aware of this, this is what has been awakening to your higher potential and will illuminate more even what came up for you, if it did, in the crown dimensions about your purpose and why you are having this unique experience. Take a deep breath, please. So as we are now present in the energy of both the 8th and the 9th chakra, but we are going to be present in the 8th. And this is not about the colors. This is not really about the sound. This is really about, at this entry level still, is what are you not hearing that will come through louder than ever before. So what I want you to do is actually to focus on your breathing and let the breathing be the communication, the mind of source, the mind of God, speaking about this economic expression coming through, that higher economic essence. And again, as you're hearing me, also listen for what's not being said through the silence. Through the silence. And in this case, the silence isn't me not speaking. It's being able to be present with what I'm not saying, but it's still being broadcast. And what's being broadcast and what I'm not saying is the higher wisdom and context to the economy of you that has already been awakened. And that is what we are going to activate even now before we go more into the 9th chakra. So there's activations within activations. It's multidimensional activations happening right here in this space. Take 3 nice deep breaths, please. So now allow the silence to become loud. And write what you feel and sense in the in-between. Take a deep breath, please. Okay. Well, I'm feeling acceleration energy happening right now. So that means that there's some rapidness that's going to be taking place. And so just to usher you into the 9th chakra chamber where multiple activations are going to be taking place. And some of these activations are going to be happening even not with me initiating them. They're just happening organically. And most of you will feel this as it is taking place. That is a dimensional context because there's so many financial trajectories that are coming forth to merge as one. And within that financial trajectory, it is your higher template of currency in multiple levels that make up your finance and economic trajectory. Some of this context is not going to be about the physical aspect. Some of it will be the vibrational currency aspect, but it all ties in. It all ties in into one unique, cohesive currency structure. So what we're going to do right now is actually be present in what is coming to me is that this part of initially ascending is about the physical cash flow aspect, or however that's going to be. This is about the cash flow aspect. So we need to be present within this dimension of the luminous space within the 9th chakra. This is higher ascended awareness about your wealth creation processes in the now. And opening up the channels on a higher level in your economic energy body so that you can receive and allow to come through you as well the cash flow template that we are activating now. So let's ground this and be present. Some of you may be guided to write down maybe some innovative insights, some profitable ahas that may be coming through, while some of you may just feel the need to just be and continue to allow this to happen. But we are activating the cash flow conduit template so that you can be in the constant receptive mode to allow and receive and to give. When you are a conduit, you are receiving, which also means that you're allowing, and then you are being able to express and to give out. And that giving out plays out in what you demonstrate in your life stewardship. This is not just about you receiving so that you can give to others. This is about really restoring and replenishing and renewing your own world. And you can definitely be benevolent or a giver to the divine assignments with this cash flow. Take a deep breath. And so now what's going to be even more activated is your stewardship with this level of the currency. So some of you are awakening to this higher experience, whether it be millionaire, billionaire status, or even beyond, or the experience within itself that leads up to these events. This is what's taking place, but it is in the physical cash flow aspect that you have to have the higher embodiment for what you're here to live out and to be able to now set your new economy up. And this goes into the stewardship aspect. So some of you are going to be receiving insights right now in terms of how you need to facilitate this process, whether it's with banking, whether it's with savings. So take some time right now to do some deep breathing around this, because I know that's a lot coming through. And I mentioned that this is a very accelerated energy because there's activations within multiple activations. And so we've grounded and started activating the cash flow aspect, but now the stewardship template. And the stewardship template also involves your time currency, just how you're leveraging the whole of this experience at this phase with the cash flow, but being wise enough to set up the structures. And this is where the mind of source comes in at this higher level and illuminates that in this luminous space for you to know that. And just jot down, because you'll be able to go back through this process and flesh it out. This is just about what's initially coming up that we need to anchor so that you have something from each dimension that participates in momentum building for this grander experience that is underway. Take a deep breath, please. And with that being said and done, so now entering into this new economic space. This is a higher luminous space. This is divinely designing this first phase of your destiny. So allow your new economy, your new economic energy body, and all that has come up within this experience, allow that to now speak to you about initial jumpstart intentions and implementations. Take a deep breath, please. And as this activation is building, because that's what has been doing, as we've been moving forward, the activations have been taking place, and then cohesively, I will be guided to bring it all together. But this activation right now that is taking place is for you hearing this higher wisdom in this space here. So be present with that. It's the new economy of you communicating. The source supreme energy, the higher supply, the whole of everything at this point. It's ready to catapult you into a different realm of your new human potential and economics, the economy of you. Take a deep breath, please. Okay. So the guidance is actually calling forth now to not ascend into the higher space, but to take all of what has ensued up into this point, and now to bring this into a more cohesive activation. So at this moment, I'm going to ask you to write down just any other initial things that come to you. Just quickly jot it down. All right. And now I'm going to ask you to take 9 deep breaths. Okay. So let's just be present, and I am going to call forth the activation. So calling forth at this time the collective congruence and resonance in the energy body, this new economy, new economic energy body template, anchored and calibrated from the cultivation of the new foundations, new colors, and new dimensions, the new core and new ascended energy into the higher source space and the supreme template of the economy of the source self, and gathering everything from this entire experience, everything written down and in thought process of those receiving this, participating. And now we are activating this entry-level expression of the new awakened economy from within in this new order of this new anatomy, the ascended anatomy template, and new economics energy body Now fully activated for this phase, anchored and grounded and ascended. Take a deep breath, please. And now just be. Be with this activation, embrace and embody it. The new economy of you, ready to be expressed, but also ready to be explored and expanded. Continue to be enlightened. Continuation of elevation and enhancement, and experiencing this in new ways like never before. Take a deep breath, please. And we are complete. And thank you. So as we conclude, we have completed this process, and it's been my total honor and delight to facilitate this. Be present with all that has been. After you are done here, just allow some space, even if it's 5 minutes, just to be. But I am going to invite you to revisit this process, and also to be intentional about asking, are there any other activations that would benefit you to complement as even higher companions to what has been done today? So there'll be a playlist of other activations that you can avail yourself to that can continue to support you. And though this would be considered one of the more higher activations for sure, and some who have been listening to the other activations have really built themselves up to this, but if this is your first time and being in this high space, I do recommend that you visit some of the other activations and allow those to build more of a foundation and anchor more of the fundamentals. But even those who have been in the immersion processes and have been listening again to the activations, it's going to serve you to allow yourself to be drawn to others, because they'll speak to you on a different level, to bring in the more holistic aspect of your entire existence in this new format. Though we focused on the economy of you is everything about your holistic experience in thriving. This particular one did focus more on the economic aspect and financial aspect, but the others will be able to bring in more of the fullness of fleshing out the fuller context of the economy of you. So that's my parting call to action, if you will, so that you can continue to be supported and not only sustain this, but expand and evolve it as you continue to elevate and ascend. Take a nice deep breath, please. And thank you again. And we are complete.